I just want to say, you guys are doing a great thing. It's such a uncomfortable topic to talk about, especially for a guy, young guys in their early 20s. And, I'm glad that, I could tune in and, listen to you guys.
Spencer Kobren's The Bald Truth.
Hey guys, welcome to the live broadcast. Listen, we're normally late to some degree, but this time it was 100% my fault. Ran out of hairspray, had to make a concoction of maple syrup and SD alcohol, which I think is working pretty well. Let me give out the toll-free number. It's 888-659-3727. Guys, this is the Hair Loss Show. This is The Bald Truth. I've been on this, whatever this is now, it's called a live stream, I guess. But this broadcast has been on the air or on the internet in some form or another for almost 30 years. Yeah, that's right. I was very young when I started in this game. I have seen everything that has transpired in this industry for the last 30 years. And as a matter of fact, both Joe and I, the guy that's sitting over on my right, your left, have been pretty involved in the development of, especially in the hair transplant side of things, of the field. Sadly, we have no control over what happens in the surgical theaters. We have no control of how the trade organizations decide to either not pay attention to consumer needs or maybe, make believe they're paying attention to consumer needs and concerns, but really they're just concerned about what's happening to their pocketbooks. But what I can tell you is this industry has run amok. In 1998, when I first wrote my book, there were 11 doctors worldwide performing follicular unit transplantation using microscopic dissection. As soon as I listed those doctors in my book, and that book took off, these doctors freaked the F out. They didn't understand why they weren't part of what we were doing. I had one guy that told me that I rewrote the history of hair transplant surgery. And I told him, I didn't rewrite the history. I said, you guys are stuck in the past providing people with mini micrographs and plugs, while these guys decided to accept Bobby Limmer's discovery that hairs actually grow in naturally occurring follicular units. And that if you dissect them three-dimensionally under a microscope, you can take these naturally occurring bundles and reimplant them into extremely tiny sites, and they're going to grow as they were growing in nature. You guys wanted to continue to cut grafts to size on tongue depressors with minimal magnification, if any, because you didn't want to change the infrastructure of your practice to accommodate what would be a natural hair transplant. Within 2 years, the entire industry caved because of the financial pressure, because the show was big in New York and LA and Miami and DC. And the market shifted completely. Sadly, Joe wasn't around at that point because he got screwed over around that time by a doctor that was still doing mini and micrographs. Isn't that right, Joe?
It wasn't fun. Twice even.
So when we talk about this industry and we talk about how the industry has evolved and what to watch out for, and we provide you guys with this free information, we have no skin in the game to do that. At least from my point of view, from what I can do, is I can sit back. The revenue stream is there. I don't have to go online and turn on this camera, do the shit that I'm doing on Instagram now, and I can just ride off into the sunset and live my life. But there's too much being left on the table, in my view. Too many people being screwed over. And then we hear stories of guys who even go to some of the greatest doctors in the world who decide, they're growing too quickly, and they may not be paying attention or keeping their eye on the ball either. There was a recent story that happened not too long, a couple of weeks ago. that really upset all of us.
Yes.
So my point is, people, it's an effed up industry. You have to be careful. Can you stop the progression of your hair loss and regrow hair? Yeah, you can. Is everyone going to have great results using medication or having a hair transplant? No. Fewer of you guys are candidates for hair transplant surgery than you think. Everything has to align for you to even consider hair transplant surgery. And when I get these emails and DMs from kids through Instagram who are 21, 23, and they think the only way they can get their hairline back is through a hair transplant, they want to start so young. They have no idea I'm not talking about long-term ramifications. I'm talking about within their 20s, what this is going to do to their lives if their hair loss isn't stabilized, if they refuse to take medication, if they jump into surgery too early. They're looking forward to a lifetime of misery and playing catch-up and trying to fill in gaps where the supply will never meet the demand unless you are somehow lucky enough to stop the progression of your hair loss using medications that a lot of people are now hyper concerned about using. And on that note, I think we should talk about what Joe wanted to speak about for this broadcast. Something is going on in Europe with finasteride.
Yeah.
And I'm not happy about it.
It's pretty wild. Let me see if I can pull this up here because I lost my place. But in a nutshell, there's been reports about the supposed correlation between the use of finasteride, and they actually pulled dutasteride into this as well, which I wasn't aware of. But the supposed correlation between, we'll say, 5-alpha reductase inhibitor medications and what's called suicide ideology.
Suicidal ideation.
Ideation, sorry. Not the study of ideals.
Yeah, don't apologize. I like correcting you. You're making me feel stupid.
So the European Union, what's called the European Union Agency for Medical or Agency for Medications, I think is what it's called. I don't have it in front of me. They're investigating this, and the worry in online circles is that they're going to ban finasteride and maybe dutasteride. And normally I would dismiss this completely right off the bat. But the EU has taken steps more aggressively than we've seen by the FDA in North America to bring awareness or to force the manufacturer to bring awareness about side effects about their medication.
And that makes sense. The only thing I'm concerned about when it comes to the Europe is, it's great they banned the use of certain food colorings, certain things, for food manufacturing, pesticides, stuff like that. Brilliant. But I don't think any reasonable physician could consider banning a drug like finasteride, even with the possible side effect of suicidal ideation, which comes on the package of just about every birth control pill, every statin, all these pills that are prescribed like candy. They have to look at the adverse side effects in the physician's desk reference or whatever it's called in Europe and realize, there's a lot of mass hysteria out there. But if you look at the list of adverse side effects, mental side effects, sexual side effects, long-term adverse sexual side effects in women who are taking hormonal birth control pills, which you can't talk about. And let's not forget about cancers, blood clotting, the fact that they all have black box warnings.
Yeah.
If they're not banning birth control, I mean, let's put birth control on the side because the political aspects of things. If they're not banning statins and they're prescribing statins like candy, which can cause sexual dysfunction, which can cause issues, now they're thinking statins actually can cause Alzheimer's. because you're lowering your cholesterol so much that's relatively unnecessary. Not to forget, not to leave out muscle weakness, osteoporosis, type 2 diabetes, like a list of things. And they're putting people on statins when they're in their 30s, sometimes in their 20s, if their cholesterol's over 200.
Yeah.
So this would be based on mass hysteria and also the push from this nonprofit organization for these post-finasteride syndrome people, which I'm not saying is illegitimate. But the point is there are millions of people who have been taking these drugs since 1992, 33 years, right? Almost 33 years.
Yeah.
Even if the side effect profiles were tenfold, it would still be the safest drug in the PDR and one of the safest for sexual dysfunction. SSRIs, almost 100% of men who take every class of SSRI has some level of sexual dysfunction, numbness of the genitals. Maybe it delays their ejaculation. There are companies now that are selling these drugs mixed with Viagra, these SSRI drugs, mixed with Viagra to help guys with premature ejaculation. Think about that. So they're giving them Viagra and a drug that can cause partial sexual dysfunction, screw up with their orgasms, so they can have a hard dick and take forever in bed. And these kids are buying it. And these kids are afraid to take finasteride. So I will go to Europe and I'll stand up in front of it's not Congress. What the hell is it over there?
The European Union Parliament? I don't know. It doesn't matter.
I'll put a powdered wig over this thing, and I'll have to get a baseball cap, and I'll stand there.
A powdered wig. I do have a summary of what's going on here. I did pull this up, so I'll go ahead and read this off. The European Medicines Agency, which is the EMA, has initiated a safety review of medications containing finasteride and dutasteride due to concerns about their potential association with psychiatric side effects, specifically suicidal thoughts and behaviors. This review was prompted by the French Medicine Agency. It's the French. Under Article 31 of the EU
French,
Directive.
man.
Fucking French, aiming to assess whether the benefits of these drugs still outweigh the risks.
You can still smoke in a restaurant in France, and they're worried about.
I know.
They're worried about Propecia.
So, despite their therapeutic benefits, there have been concerns about their psychiatric side effects, including depression, decreased libido, and suicidal ideation. Recently, suicidal ideation was added to the list of potential side effects on product labels in the EU. Now, I don't know if it's saying product labels of these medications or any product that has this type of issue. It's not clear about that. The ongoing investigation by the EMA's Pharmacovigilance Risk Assessment Committee, my God, there's money put everywhere. PRAC aims to thoroughly review all available data, including clinical studies and reports, to determine if these medications should have their marketing authorizations modified, suspended, or potentially withdrawn. The review's outcome will help establish any new safety measures, labeling changes, or restrictions needed across the EU to protect patient safety.
Right. So what I hope that they do is, if they decide to somehow withdraw this, which I don't think they will, in the UK or in Europe, they need to look at the list of mood disorders caused by hormonal birth control, including a significant risk of suicidal ideation that has not just been related to these drugs, but they think it's causal. Not to mention permanent sexual dysfunction. It's relatively small, kind of like for post-finasteride syndrome. But there are women who have permanent sexual dysfunction, whether they can no longer orgasm or they feel like their libido's screwed up or, whatever.
Yeah.
So, or, vaginal dryness, big one for women on birth control, apparently. But the mood swings that are caused by they're giving children these basically steroids. They're completely rearranging and effing up the hormones of kids who are 15, 16, 17 years old, changing their lives forever. Making them, basically, these hormones can make people choose partners that they would not normally choose if their hormones were if they were ovulating normally.
Yeah.
Thank God common law was, I don't think, taking anything when she met me. But this is all reality. So, you have to understand, once the ambulance chasers get involved and once there's like some sort of an advocacy group involved, everyone else who may be benefiting from these medications, they may not get a say. Even if it was a full 10% of people taking, the millions of people taking these medications who are benefiting from them, not just for hair loss, but for benign prostate hyperplasia. Now there was a study done, I think that came out in February. I'd have to look it up, that shows that long-term finasteride users have significantly lower cholesterol rates. Could be by up to 30 points lower on average.
Wow.
So now they were considering possibly treating people who have high cholesterol with finasteride because it has less adverse events than statins. True story.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
So you get to keep your hair, you get to have a small prostate, and lower your cholesterol with these drugs. Now, there is a possibility of insulin resistance in some people as they get older using these drugs long term. That's been in the literature for a long time. But the same goes for statins. There's a much higher incidence of type 2 diabetes caused by these drugs that almost everybody's on, especially in Europe.
Yeah.
I think I said my piece.
I think you did. That's good.
I hate these bureaucrats. How about helping people, actually helping people for a change? Making sure these people have money in their pockets, making sure that their countries are safe, making sure that they're not walking in the streets and possibly getting killed by the insanity that's happening in Europe and here in the U.S. How about that?
Is it too much to ask to not get shot, not get knifed?
Yeah. Not
get hit with a baseball bat? I don't know.
Not get shanked? These women in New York City getting punched in the face on a daily basis, just knocked out?
Just random. It's a crazy world, folks. Crazy.
All right, we're going to take some calls. Guys, it is the Hair Loss Show. 888-659-3727. We take calls here. And, I'm trying to figure out who's online first. We have a full board. Guys, if you are getting a voicemail when you're trying to call in, that means all the lines are busy. It's been 7 years, and I haven't fixed that.
It means it's been 7 years since he's known about the problem. Yeah. He's done jack shit to fix it.
I haven't done jack. I did contact somebody to get me a new phone system, and he was supposed to set it up. This is about 2 months ago. But he's another procrastinator. We'll get it together. Let's see who this is. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this and where are you calling from?
Hey, Spencer. This is Borgi from Germany.
Hey, brother. What's happening?
First caller
What's up, man?
from the EU.
Yeah. Welcome, man. I don't know what's going on in Europe, brother, but you guys have, everything is twisted.
It's fucked up, man. It's, Finasteride, I just started it. I titrated my way in. I called last week. I told you about it. And now I'm in. It's okay. I'm doing fine, having no side effect. Now I'm at risk that it gets banned. It's insane.
I would say it's very unlikely. The drug's been on the market for 30 years. The amount of drugs that kill people in the EU, including opioids and everything else that's being, and again, statins, and the number of drugs that cause suicidal ideation, including type 2 diabetes medications. Ozempic is a big one.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no way they're going to ban this. So I wouldn't worry about it.
I hope so.
But, they just kind of put that as an option. They're probably going to make stronger warnings or some shit like that. Like you guys, your cigarette packs that you guys have, It's like, they have like a guy with like no foot, and they have they show, black lungs and all that stuff.
Yeah, maybe on Finasteride there's some pictures with a guy with no dick. I don't know.
Yeah, limp dick. Some guy with a limp dick.
Yeah. Oh man, it's crazy. I talked with Dr. Merson about it, and I understand him. It's one of the reasons why he went from Germany to Switzerland, because in Switzerland you are no longer in the EU, and so he doesn't have to deal with all the regulations. It's crazy because they regulate every single thing in your life. We have a rule here now that it's actually regulated how much water you can flush your toilet. It's like so many details are
yeah, I mean, here in California, they have these low flush toilets, and I mean, but you could jerry rig that shit. Doesn't make a difference. I'll pay for more water. If you know anything about plumbing, you can jerry rig that. So.
Yeah.
But it's so you're on finasteride now, but you're on topical, right? If I remember your last call.
I am on topic, right? I'm doing fine. It works good, and I actually have some question also about medication. How do you think? I have the feeling that now it's a trend, like going more into dutasteride topical, because they say the molecular weight is in a certain level, so it doesn't go systemic. And also I saw Melvin Lopez is using it, and many guys are using it now, even if it's not, I think, FDA approved.
None of it's FDA approved. But, none of it's FDA approved. No compounded medication is FDA approved. Now, the ingredients in the compounded medication can be approved, but they're generic ingredients, but nothing's approved when it's compounded. So that's topical minoxidil. The FDA has zero, they have no idea what these compounded medications will do. It's one thing to take something orally. But as far as taking topical dutasteride, I do think it's a trend, personally. I also think it's a trend that the marketers and the people who are making these products are capitalizing on. I personally think that some of the drug has to go systemic in order for it to fully help you. So if somehow the molecular weight and the size of the molecules in dutasteride don't go systemic and just penetrate the stratum corneum into the hair follicle, I mean, I guess it could be a benefit, but what about the rest of your scalp? Well, you're not applying the drug.
Yeah, I think as well that some of it has to go systemic, but it's strange that someone like Melvin had side effects to oral finasteride, but he can tolerate topical dutasteride.
Who the fuck is Melvin?
Very well. Melvin Lopez from Hair Transplant Network.
Oh, the guy that runs the message forum. Yeah, I know Melvin. I don't. It's just a funny name, and I'm like, who's Melvin? You know what? I mean, people have side effects. Everyone's an individual. His experience is his experience. And if he's doing well or if he thinks he's doing well on topical dutasteride, that's great. I'm not saying not to consider it, but you just started your finasteride journey, and you're doing okay right now. You have no adverse side effects. You want to give it a chance to see how you're doing. Dutasteride's always going to be there. Maybe not in Europe, but at least in Switzerland.
Yeah. I don't plan to switch. I stick on it for a while. And I see. Another question maybe for finasteride. You said once you look like a Swedish boy because it kind of removed all your hairs.
Yeah, it didn't really remove it. I mean, I never had a lot of body hair. I just noticed that the hair in my hands, which was very slight. I didn't have any really. Just like it was a little darker around the knuckles, and that disappeared. And
he has more in the palm of his hands than he does the outside of his hands.
Just the left palm.
Just the left palm.
But no, it didn't really. It didn't decrease my beard at all. My beard grows fully.
But how do you explain it that it kind of can affect the hair on your body a little bit, but not like your eyebrows or your beard? Wouldn't it be the same? Wouldn't finasteride logically reduce both?
It can, logically, sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
But for me, I always had kind of like thinnish eyebrows and blonde on the side, so there's no change with the eyebrows. And and the beard is thick. It grows in pretty thick, so I don't have a problem with that. But yeah, I mean, for some people, it could definitely diminish their facial hair, possibly their eyebrow hair. I don't know. I don't hear a lot about it diminishing eyebrow hair, but it might.
I've not heard anything about that, but I have heard about beard and body hair in general, like back hair, chest hair, things like that.
I mean, I used to have a bush like a 70s porn star, and that kind of got a little thinner. But otherwise, you know. But no, I mean, it was very, I just happened to notice a change within the first few months, and then it just kind of stayed that way for the rest of my life.
Yeah, okay, I guess I just have to try and see, and if something changes, because I really like my beard. That's very important to me. But maybe at some point
I wear a beard to some degree for always. I mean, I'll shave it rarely, like if I go away and I'm just laying out in the sun and I just want to see if, you know, like I look like an old baby without it. You know what I mean? But, but yeah. But I like it.
I love his descriptions. That's good. If he shaves his head, he looks like Kane from Kung Fu.
Yeah. But I will tell you this, and no one believes me. I was speaking to Dave Asprey about this, the biohacking guy, when I interviewed him. And I kind of believe that finasteride is the first true anti-aging drug that exists. He didn't agree, but if you're essentially anti-aging your hair when you're on this drug, stopping the miniaturization. I also think it has positive effects on your skin. All the guys that I know, the guys that I grew up with, who started finasteride around the same time as me, or even 10 years after. Now it's possible because they're concerned about their hair and they take care of themselves. They all look a lot younger than their age, skin-wise. So I don't know if there's any effect on the skin, but there might be.
But it could also prolong your life, no? Because I think DHT is also related to heart attacks and cardiovascular
Well,
disease.
now they're finding out that finasteride actually lowers your cholesterol, so it could actually affect cardiovascular health as well.
It could be a miracle drug, and we didn't even realize it.
Yeah,
we're too busy worrying about the problems that's brought on about it to realize that it could be a miracle drug.
I'm the same age as what's his name, Waltz, the vice presidential candidate.
You're the same as him?
We're the same age. He's like 6 months older than me.
I didn't hear the age part. I thought you said you were the same. I figured you knew how to load a shotgun. So got it.
And I happen to be left-handed, so that gun wouldn't work for me. He was using a left-handed shotgun. He didn't even know he didn't even know he was left-handed. Anyway,
he didn't know he was left-handed.
He didn't know that the gun was left-handed. He was a righty. Oh, it was the other way around. It was a right-handed shotgun. He was holding his left hand, trying to load it from the left side. The safety's on the other side of the gun.
Screwdriver?
No, the safety's on the other side of the gun, and so is when you're trying to load it. Anyway, this guy's from Germany. He doesn't know what the fuck we're talking about.
Yeah, we're talking about guns now.
Yeah. But listen, I'm glad. Listen, I don't think they're going to ban it. That's just my. I'm not a psychic, but I'm pretty sure that's going to be the case. I'd be very shocked. And I'm glad you're doing well.
Yeah. Maybe one last question.
Maybe.
I'm looking forward to my surgery, and about the cheap hair mills in Turkey. And I sometimes follow influencers who go there, and I see what they do. And when they go to a cheap hair mill in Turkey, they advise not to transplant the crown because it doesn't grow very well. And I just never understood this concept. Like, is it really the case that hair transplant in the crown is more complicated or grows?
No, I'll let Joe answer it, but I would say this, that the crown is basically like a black hole. You need a lot of grafts if you have a big crown to fill in, and you have to create the right angles. There's got to be the right swirl and the right angulation, and so a lot of grafts are wasted trying to fill in a guy's bald spot when they could really be utilized better to frame the face and the temporal points and stuff like that. But no, hairs do grow in the crown. Joe can pick this up from here.
They're saying what? They're saying that they don't recommend going into the crown. Is that what you said?
The cheap hair mills do, and I was wondering because I'm going to Hattingen now, and in this surgery they do my crown, and I'm like, is the growth really bad at the crown? I don't know, because the cheap hair mills will usually not go into the crown. They say it doesn't grow very well.
Yeah, well, in my experience, like back when, early in my career, it was more rare for clinics to transplant into the crown just anywhere across the board, and most of them would use that same excuse. But the reality is, they were saying this simply because they didn't know how. And what I mean by that is, like, there's no secret to placing in the crown with regards to survival compared to anywhere else in the scalp. The secret or the trick to dealing with the crown is making it look natural. You have to understand the whorl pattern of every scalp in the crown region, and how it transitions into the direction and angle of hair on top of the scalp. There's a very specific way that's done, and if you don't know how to do it, then two things can happen. One, it can obviously look very unnatural, but two, because it's not matching that angle and direction and flow of a natural crown and how it flows into the top of the scalp and the periphery of the crown, it can look like it didn't grow very well. Because the challenge with proper crown work, because it is such a large area compared to any other specific region of the scalp, you do need more grafts to get an equal amount of aesthetic coverage as the top. So, say like you put 2,500 grafts from the hairline to the mid scalp right before you get into the crown. You would need about almost that much hair just to give equal coverage for the crown. So that's and that's if everything's done right, so that you get a fluent or a consistency of coverage from the bottom of the crown to the vertex to the hairline. And that's simply because of the way that the hair has to be placed. It's almost like a redundant placement of grafts, because you can't stagger them. You can't layer them because of that whorl pattern that you have to recreate. Whereas on top of the scalp, you can layer grafts. You can do that shingling effect that gives the appearance of better coverage than if you didn't shingle the graft. So there's some tricks that they're just not aware of that prevents them from having enough experience to where they can make a natural result, and that does have sufficient growth. But you do need more grafts in the crown to get an equal appearance of coverage than you do the top of the scalp. So that might be part of the reason why they say that it just doesn't grow as well.
And also,
it doesn't look like it does.
Also, their technicians are, they may be well trained to, do these things pretty quickly, get the grafts into a hairline, and that's still tough. But to really create a natural crown, that takes a tremendous amount of artistry and understanding. And everybody's hair is slightly different. If your hair is slightly coarser, if it doesn't lay just right, it's difficult to get that whorl. And there are people that will start in the middle, which is hilarious to me. I've seen this before, and it ends up looking like a target on someone's head, as opposed to going from the sides of the scalp or the perimeter of the bald area and trying to go in there. But sometimes when you do a crown, if you are progressing, even if you have a lot of hair and the doctor's really good, you'll get that moat anyway in time. So it's always better to wait. The crown should always be like the last thing. When you're like 50 years old, maybe you want to do your crown. But in your case, given the fact that I'm sure he's not going to be using a tremendous amount of grafts in your crown, this guy's got really good judgment. So I'm pretty sure that you're in good hands. You're not going to have to worry about it. But it's not going to be so like super thick. I can tell you that.
No.
you're going to get a nice smattering of growth. He's going to leave room for progression. So if you do progress to some degree, basically he's leading it. You know what I mean? It's kind of like when you're shooting ducks. You got to lead those ducks. I don't know if you've ever done that, but he's leading it. He kind of understands that it's possible that the perimeter is going to get bigger.
That's a good analogy.
Okay,
It's the truth.
That's a good.
It's like throwing a football. But he doesn't understand it either because in his country they kick footballs. Go ahead.
Yeah, we have soccer.
Yeah.
You almost said that with spite.
You know what? It actually makes sense that it's called football because you're using your feet. It does make sense. I get it.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, and the European football, the soccer. I mean, it's also the biggest sport in the world. No? But I know it's probably boring for you guys. I know.
No, I it just never really made it big here in the U.S. It was never boring. My brother, let him rest in peace, used to play soccer. He was really good at it. Oh. I just never took to it, man.
I like watching it every once in a while when I'm bored because like there used to be a show here called Jerry Springer. It's no longer being broadcast. You can watch repeats, but I like to watch soccer sometimes because nowhere in the world since Jerry Springer went off the air can you see crybabies fall on the ground just because someone looks at them funny. So that's what soccer is good for in my mind. It's like if the wind blows wrong, someone falls down and claims to have broken their ankle. It's just great. But I want to address something that you were talking about earlier. You said something about topical dutasteride being having less systemic absorption than topical finasteride. Did I get that right? That's what you're saying?
Yeah.
Or you're repeating what someone else said? Because that's not correct. Because dutasteride is lipophilic, which means it's fat soluble, and it can actually pass through the stratum corneum easier than finasteride can. So it can actually be more systemic than finasteride. And there are some topicals out there that claim to lock in dutasteride or even finasteride for that matter.
Yeah, I think Hassan's topical makes that claim.
Did you have to name names?
It's a good product.
I was specifically...
I'm being nice. It's a good product. Nothing wrong with it.
But okay, my question is how does that just doesn't make any sense to me. You're locking it in at a certain level in the scalp. Doesn't make sense to me.
I don't know. I don't know if that actually happens, but I know there's some sort of a process that they're using so that it may not go as systemic, and that's possible. I forgot liposomes or.
And I know the process. Yeah,
it was explained to me.
The point being is that in general, dutasteride is lipophilic, and it will be more systemic generally than finasteride. So it's not the case across the board. Like if one brand or another brand has some sort of approach where they can limit that absorption, fine. But in general, if it's just some general topical that you're getting from somewhere that doesn't specifically address this with documented results, then don't believe it.
And you could test it out yourself with taking blood work. But also if there's any advertising involved, like I don't know much about this guy Melvin, but if there's any advertising involved, I don't know what product he's using. But you always have to look at everything with a jaundiced eye. In my book, you want to work directly with a physician if you can to use any compounded product. The larger the company, the more difficult it is to really have great quality control with every batch. And you also don't know exactly where the products are being sourced. So I don't know where you're getting your topical finasteride, but I always suggest, at least at this point, there's a couple of companies that are coming out with their own labs and stuff like that I'm aware of, and there may be some more quality control. But yeah, I mean, you're probably getting it prescribed by your doctor, right?
Yeah, it's one big. I think like on the normal market, it's only one topical finasteride allowed here. I don't know if in Germany or in the EU, but it's called Finsur.
Okay.
And it's only one product, and everyone who uses topical finasteride and doesn't import it from any other country like Greek or something, if someone buys in Germany topical finasteride, it's this Finsur, and everyone's using it. And they made their own clinical trial, and it should work.
I'm sure it's a good product. If that's the product that you're getting and that's what's available to you, terrific. But everybody's coming out with their own products, and you just don't know what's going on. That's my point. And if someone is accepting advertising dollars for a product and all of a sudden saying it's the greatest thing since sliced bread, or just you have to look at everything with a jaundiced eye.
I understand. I just have one question for Joe. Joe said the crown eats more grafts because you recreate that tornado form, whatever. But wouldn't it be, because you don't have the shingling effect? But wouldn't it be possible to ignore the special form of the crown and just transplant hairs without that special form, just with this shingling effect? I know it would probably look unnatural.
Of course it's possible. I actually there's a doctor that in Europe that would do that, and it would actually look okay as a final result, but only with very specific hairstyles.
Yeah, you have to comb it forward, in my view, usually.
Yeah.
Or do a slick back, no?
It depends on how the direction. They either shingle it forward or they shingle it backwards.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to shingle it, it would generally be shingled forward so that you could blend it in. Think of it like this. If you shingled everything backward, then you have this demarcation where that shingling transitions from forward to backward, which would probably be right on the vertex. So you would have a horizontal part line going left to right in between your ears. It wouldn't. It would. You brush your hair back, and then half of your hair is fighting to go the opposite direction.
Tell me about it.
Tell me about it. So you would logically have to have everything shingled forward up towards the vertex to blend into the forward direction of the hair on top of the scalp towards the hairline. So you would be stuck with that type of hairstyle where it would be almost like a Caesar. You'd have to brush it forward all the time, and you get tired of that real fast. Trust me.
Okay. Okay, understand. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like if I got it shingled, I'd have it shingled to the side so I can throw the comb over, even make it even thicker. So, all right, brother. Listen, we're going to take some more calls. I hope we were able to help you. I'm glad you're doing well on finasteride. Let us know on topical finasteride. Let us know how surgery goes. I have to tell you, I don't have a real personal relationship with your doc. I mean, he's with the IHRS as an associate member, but he's good. He's really good, and he is a straight shooter, and that's what I like about him most.
Yeah, he is, and it's such a powerful tool to have this boiled truth, because I love my heading and hair, and the first procedure went very well. But if I would be now in another clinic that I wouldn't be satisfied or something, the possibility to be able to call in here and to share your experience is such a powerful tool for consumers. And I think most consumers don't realize it, because I don't understand why not much more people call you and share their experience, because that's how you generate some power for consumers.
Well, I appreciate that, but most consumers are stupid. That's what makes the world go round. You're
most
not.
People are just ignorant. So
why do you think the hair loss industry is as big as it is? Because people are idiots. I put out a video on the reality of what oil does. Oiling your scalp for hair loss is one of the worst things you can do to your scalp. You destroy your scalp microbiome, especially when you're using stuff like rosemary oil. And the long-term effects are not good. And then people ask me questions like, well, how about coconut oil? Or how about, I mean, it's just unbelievable, man. You can give them everything they need, and they're like, oh, but my mother's telling me that I should, if I hang upside down and put niacin on my head, things are going to work out. So anyway, brother, listen, good luck. Thank you for the compliment and the kind words. You're in good hands.
Thank you. Please continue.
We will do our best. As long as I have the energy. Take it easy.
Auf Wiedersehen.
888-659-3727. Joe's all international and shit.
Can't you tell?
He's a Renaissance man. Let's see who this is. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this and where are you calling from?
Hey, what's up, man? My name is Greg, calling from Boston.
Hey, Greg from Boston. What's
up,
happening?
Greg?
Hey, what's up? Hey, Spencer, I actually spoke with you about a few months ago. It was back around, I would say, end of July, early August. I called in because, I was going through a lot of minoxidil shot because I was just on it. And I was like month 3 in.
Okay.
I do have some questions, but I want to give you kind of like a little update.
Sure.
So the regrowth I've been having is like beyond my wildest dreams, man. It's pretty.
Now, you're on
insane.
oral minoxidil or topical?
Oral.
Okay.
To the point where I'm a part of this Perfect Hair Health Club from Rob English. The before and after picture I showed him, I'm putting this up because this is like it's an insane, like the cosmetic look of it is completely different.
Yeah, I'm so happy for you, brother.
No, trust me, man. I'm beyond excited, man. And it's just like the beginning parts. So I know minoxidil can take upwards to like about a year-ish. So results are still coming in.
A lot of people freak out at the initial telogen effluvium. Not everyone goes through it, and that's actually why that's why I hold off because I'm not going through any type of effluvium. Knock on wood. And even though things have diminished, especially like in the nape, I'm getting some retrograde. I still got a lot to play with, so I don't want to go through. I don't want to push anything right now. So I'm keeping that in my back pocket.
Yeah, man. I'm glad to hear it as well. At least it's stabilized. The thing is, when I went on the minoxidil, the shedding was like abnormal. It was an insane amount.
Yeah.
So I went to see my dermatologist, and they said, you could be a what he said, a hyper responder. And it was kind of confirmed from my recent visit. They said, like, oh, yeah, you're responding way too much. Like, it's a really high amount.
Yeah.
Because, like, they can see the terminal hairs already coming in. It's very concentrated amount of it. So I'm really happy to hear. I am also on, for people listening, I am also on dutasteride. I started back in November of 2023. I was on finasteride for, like, a few years before that.
Did you send Joe your pictures?
Which pictures?
Did you send Joe any pictures?
No, but I'd love to. If you guys would like to, I could send like a quick email.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
No, just do. Send. Are you on Instagram? Send me an Instagram.
Okay, yeah, I could do that. Is it to what's the Instagram? Is it Spencer's?
No, don't send me anything, man. I got too many. I won't even be able to find it.
No.
Joe Tillman official. Just Joe Tillman official. That's all you need.
Joe
Tillman, Tillman.
Official.
And then once you, and then if you're okay, I'll show it on screen.
You can show it. Oh yeah, I don't care. Of course.
So while he's doing that, so it's so funny, talking about how these drugs work, and I put out a reel the other day. Basically, I was critiquing this kid that was derma rolling and then putting minoxidil on his scalp, which is really bad. And it got like 2 million views. A lot of positive stuff came out of it. But these young kids who are like 17, 18, 19 years old, they're like, bro, you're balding, bro. Where's your hairline, bro? I'm thinking to myself, I've been balding for 40 years, brother. These kids have no idea the reality of what it's like to... they somehow think that using these products are going to keep their boyish hairlines for the rest of their lives. Dude, our hair is on life support, people. That's basically what we're trying to do. Like, you taking this drug, you're on this for life, brother. You know that. Dutasteride and minoxidil. And hopefully it continues to work for a very long time. You keep that hair in life support. But you will probably lose ground in time. But it may take a decade. And it can be very, very slow. How old are you now?
32.
Yeah. I mean, I'm 59 years old. You know, when you tell people that, they have to kind of expel it out to them. Then these kids kind of realize, well, you know, my dad's bald. That's just the way that it works, man. Our job is, and I had a lower hairline when I started, and I had more hair in the crown when I started. But the fact that I've been able to resuscitate this hair and keep it on life support for 35 years, it really shows the power of these medications, especially if you're a good responder like you are.
Yeah, I mean, I've had zero side effects. I was actually looking forward to one of the side effects because I do have a pretty high libido.
Yeah.
So it just didn't work out.
Yeah.
But I've had zero side effects, man. So that's why I continue just going on it. And I'm just like looking around, trying to see like maybe like what I can, because I actually just recently saw your video. And I actually commented, but I also saw that you were going live today, so I'm like, oh, I might as well just ask it here. Okay. The thing is, so I've always used product in my hair since I was a kid.
Yeah.
I style it upwards.
Uh-huh.
So the thing is that I do use a good amount of hairspray.
Yeah.
I don't know if that also creates a bad environment for, I guess, the microbiome for my head.
It's interesting. You know, as you can see, I use a ton of hairspray. And I used to be concerned about that. The fact is, it really does kind of stay on the top of your, it gets on your scalp, but it really kind of almost stays on top of your scalp. You're not penetrating the stratum corneum like you are with certain essential oils, especially when you're keeping that penetrating in your scalp. So I would say no. You're probably not damaging the stratum the microbiome, and if you are, it's minimal. And listen. I have confirmation bias because I basically shellac my head, but I don't think it's caused me any issues.
Now, man, that was a big concern of mine because I would kind of send my my information over to like a dermatologist, a few of them. Just to make sure, like, if there's any ingredients that could cause anything, and they gave me kind of like a no, it's probably not going to do anything.
No.
So, yeah, I just want, and also, by the way, Joe, so I sent you those photos. I want to give a little bit more context on them. Those photos are directly after a shower, under the harshest lighting I can possibly find in the same room as well. Good. And that's the difference. For the difference between that photo and the other one is, I think, like 4 months.
I'm looking, and I don't.
Joe Tillman official, yeah?
Yeah, hold on a second.
It says this account can't receive your messages because they don't allow new messages requests from everyone.
Well, that explains a lot. That's strange.
All right, let me open up something here. Are you following me?
Yeah.
Are you following me?
I am now. Now I am.
That's why. For fuck's sake. It's like...
That's fucking great, man.
I just looked. That's why I just looked just now.
That's the best.
Okay. Now I don't want your photos. God damn it. You're not following me. You can send them to Spencer.
Now send them to Joe. Now
no, I didn't. Honestly,
you know, the guy that you are following.
I didn't even know you. I didn't even know of you, man, until this live.
That makes it that much easier.
Thanks.
Dude, there are people who are just my fans. Joe. It happens.
That makes me feel so much better. I didn't even know who you are, man.
I did write a couple of books and all. I mean, some people know me from other.
Forget the fact I've been sitting next to this guy for the past 10 years.
Again, I recently found him. Yeah, I know you were just messing with me. But hopefully you can see it now. Or should I resend it again because I just started following now?
Maybe resend it.
Let's see.
Guys, hold on. We'll take your calls in a minute. I just want to see these guys' results. 888-659-3727. Guys who are trying to call in, if you are getting a voicemail, that means that all lines are busy. I haven't fixed that issue yet because I just haven't gotten around to it. It has not been a priority. But maybe I'll look into that again.
Okay, so photo 1, photo 2.
Did it go through?
All right, I resent it.
Mm-hmm. Nothing. So I'm
No.
not sure what's going on. Don't know, man.
All right, send them to me, brother.
Okay.
Let's see if it comes through.
Sift through all your messages.
What? Yeah.
Okay, message.
Yeah, I don't know why it's not coming.
Guys, the phone number is 888-659-3727. Usually I don't have dead air like this because I keep trying to talk. But if Joe's not talking and I'm not talking, then it's just two idiots on their phones. So if you're just tuning in.
Two idiots.
We are taking calls. This is the Hair Loss Show, The Bald Truth. Been doing this program for close to 30 years. Did you send it?
So I'm only allowed to text you. I'm not allowed to send photos.
Oh, Jesus. That means...
Community guidelines.
All right. I'm going to accept this, but do not contact me.
Oh, this is good.
Yeah, every day I'm going to wake up and contact you, Spencer.
Yeah, go ahead. All right. Try again.
Every morning.
Don't do it, man. Don't do it. Don't do it.
I still have guys calling that I got in touch with that I allowed
I would never do that, man.
that I allowed in the studio back when I was on WABC radio. When I was young and naive, they are still contacting me privately, asking me for help and favors.
Really?
Absolutely.
I mean, I still can't send, man.
I just accepted your thing. Hey.
I'm telling you.
Hi.
I'm
Look,
going.
I'm gonna write you back.
refreshed my Instagram.
Hi. I got your whole name now.
Spencer. Message.
And Nick S. in the chat room says Spencer has to follow him back. That's not true. I get pictures from people all the time that I don't follow.
Pictures? I get dick pics. I'm not kidding.
No way.
You always got to go there, don't you? You always got to go there.
I have grown men sending me their penises, or boys. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding, Siri.
That's Jesus.
They're not boys, they're men. And I don't look at them.
This is my YouTube channel. If you haven't remembered that, I'm the one that's going to get the algorithm ban here, or the shadow ban for the discussion.
Look, I can't help it. I can't help what people send me on these crazy apps.
I still can't send them in.
I don't know.
Stop giving me the photo icon.
All right. Well, I'd like to get that 5 minutes back. All right.
Well,
so
you could have all this time. You could have emailed you, Joe, which is ridiculous.
That's what I said.
Well,
just real quick, boom.
Well, okay. So let's do that.
And by the way, YouTube,
ADMIN.
I'm just kidding about the dick pics. No dick. I never got a dick pic. Go ahead.
Okay. That makes it better. Admin at hairtransplantmentor.com.
Hairtransplantmentor.com.
All one word.
888-659-3727. And you know what? If I'm disappointed with these fucking results, man, we're never taking your call.
I know.
There's no way. There's no way. So,
if these aren't impressive, we're hanging up.
No, go ahead. That's fine. You can block me. Hairtransplantmentor at what.com.
See,
Gmail.
Here we go. It's no. Admin at hairtransplantmentor.com.
Okay, admin. Okay. Sorry, everybody.
This is ridiculous. This is hilarious. No, that's all good. It's all good, man. I'm just giving you a hard time.
I know. Don't worry.
No Diddy.
Photo 1 and then
No
photo
Diddy.
2.
That's so funny. No Diddy.
Yeah, exactly. The beauty of modern technology, people. There we go. Where's my...
Okay, send it.
Okay, let's try it. Let's see. And they're probably, 10 megabytes each?
And
you send 97 photos?
I was a talk show host on the station that Adam Carolla was on, 97.1 FM in Los Angeles, and possibly other stations across the country that Love Lines was on.
I'm sorry, what?
Wait, what?
I'm answering questions in the chat because I don't want any dead air.
Okay. Let's see. I'm not seeing it.
I think Joe's getting old, people.
Admin, ADMIN, at hairtransplantmentor.com.
Yes.
All right, sent it.
All right.
So I'll send it
It's gonna
again,
take a
maybe
while.
smaller.
No. Well, how big are the files?
I just did, okay, let me do medium. 956 kilobytes. How about that? I did actual size.
BK4IM 59.
Or 4.6 megabytes. Would that work?
Here we go. Got him. Okay.
Okay,
I got him.
good. Okay, block me or don't.
Jesus.
There's no way.
Jesus Christ.
This is 4 months.
Okay. Dude. Shit. There's 4 months. Okay. I can see an improvement, but you also have your hair completely, like this before image.
Show us the facts,
completely messed
Joe.
up.
Show us the facts.
Yeah. Okay. I'm not giving you a hard time.
Forward,
I'm just,
man. No, be honest. I don't care. That's forward. I'm telling you.
Okay. Hold on. See, I gotta rename this so I can find it once I download it. G1.
You can't send an old man pictures. He doesn't even know what to do with them.
Oh, I know exactly what to do with them. And then, Jesus Christ, Windows. Okay, there's this one.
Carrier pigeon.
Downloading this one.
This guy's hilarious.
I'm telling you, fucking
Pigeon just flies.
You can even
Pigeon
see
flies doing the images
You
in
can
the
even see the
studio.
density difference. It's a huge difference.
Here's that one. And
As long as you feel
All
good,
right.
brother. I'm just kidding.
here we go.
Don't believe
Here's
me.
the
So tight.
here's the first one. You see that, Spencer?
Yeah. Everyone
Okay, so
sees
there's
it.
the first. Okay, so this is what I'm noticing right off the bat. Okay, so notice that the hair. You say it's brush forward, but that's not brush forward. That's
No, with
That's-
my fingers, yeah.
I'm actually noticing the really cheap shower rod, dude. You gotta fix that.
That's a shower rod? Really?
Yeah.
This guy.
That's
Target, man.
That's what I have to.
1999.
That's what I've been dealing with for 10 years. The guy picks up shit behind you that no one would. It's like
1999.
I'm seeing your hair loss, but I'm also seeing that shower rod from the Partridge Family episode
Oh, yeah.
97. Okay, and
The
then
best goddamn shower rod I got.
there you go.
Dude, I know the combing is different, but it's still impressive. Dude,
That's what I'm saying.
you should be
It's
fucking
so thick.
thrilled. Don't listen to what Joe has to say. He's trying to hurt your
What the?
feelings.
Yeah. It's a huge difference. This is 4 months, brother.
No, it's
Like-
definitely good. It's definitely
No,
good.
that's amazing,
But-
dude.
I'll literally go take
But
another
ideally-
photo right now.
What does it look like dry?
Ideally,
Even
is
better.
Of course.
The ideal is dry to look even
My
much
hair.
better.
That's why my
But
hair looks like
ideally,
wet.
You want to do make your hair look kind of like the same style that you did in the before image, and that's a proper before after. Your lighting is consistent as hell. Like your lighting looks fantastic. It really does.
Yeah, you got that shower rod the exact same angle both times.
Jesus Christ,
made sure of
it
it.
really does.
I really made sure
really
that it
does.
was the same as last
Yeah,
year.
you know, when my hair is wet, especially in the back, it's totally see through. I mean, it's unbelievable. And then when it's dry, it's just,
And
it
I
looks
can
very
tell-
full.
I can tell that you knocked your shower rod down at least once since that before image was taken because it's much closer to the edge in this image.
Man, you should be in forensic science.
I'm telling you.
That's actually correct. Well,
yeah.
And is
Yeah,
that an
my hair
ironing?
was
Is that
so
a folding
tall, it was
ironing
knocked-
board behind you?
no.
Okay.
I wish. That'd be awesome. That's old school as fuck.
Yeah. Dude, congratulations! I'm really
But,
happy. I'm really happy for you. It must look great when you dry your hair because that's a lot of hair.
No, yeah, it's completely like you can't even tell that I have any type of loss.
That's
like, at
so.
all.
I'm
And
I'm so happy for you.
no, I
You
appreciate
got
that, man. I wish
crack
Joe was.
you got
too.
crack in your shower tile though.
Let me tell you, all you suckers who are mad at me because I'm telling you not to oil your hair. Look at this guy's picture.
Joe, you're a great guy, man. Wow. I don't know how Spencer's been so
Thank you.
long. Yeah.
Tell me about it.
But I really, I mean, honestly, man, I did follow your advice, and I was thinking about a hair transplant at the time because of how bad it was, and I just didn't do it. Even though the transplant guy was really good, they're a pretty reputable place. I listened and I stayed.
You should go visit him now for a consult and say, "How do you like my transplant?" You know, I mean, I tell these kids, you know, it's so everyone thinks there's only one way to do it. You get on a plane, you go to Turkey, and you get a hair transplant, you fix it. It doesn't fix your situation, people. This fixes your situation. Now, is it perfect to have to be on medication for the rest of your life? No. And I don't know what it's going to do to you when you get older. I don't know what's going to happen to me. But if you're committed to keeping your hair and regrowing some hair, you have to be on actual medication for it to work. Not oils, not derma rollers, no RU58841, which no one in my 30-some-odd years of experience has any long-term positive effects from. Everyone just wastes so much fucking time trying to avoid reality that you got to be on these medications. Period.
Yeah, it's the thing is people quit so early because of how bad their hair gets. I just got a baseball cap, said fuck it, wore that for like a while, and then I looked in like a week or two, and I'm like, whoa, there's kind of a big difference in density, and then they just started growing longer and filling out even more.
Go out to the bars, brother. Enjoy it.
Yeah.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Right.
I took you guys' time long enough. People want me banned for some reason.
Yeah, they really do. They're telling me to cut you off.
I think the same fucking.
All right, brother. Great job.
I'm glad you found Spencer. I'm glad that you followed his advice. I will say that had you found me earlier as well, your hair would be better than it is now. So just saying, but that's okay. You got more time. It'll get better.
Yeah.
I agree, man. I'm following you now, man. Hopefully I get to see some reviews of bathroom tiles.
Yeah, we're going to work on
your videos.
You're going to see a lot of steaks.
Right on.
Joe cooks a lot of meat. All right, brother. Take care.
Perfect. Take care, guys. Thank you.
See you, buddy. Thanks for calling.
The phone number is 888-659-3727. We do have a line open if someone wants to call in. And we'll just take more calls, I guess.
I just want to see more shower rods. That's...
Dude, I thought those results were amazing. Caller, you're on the air. Who's this and where are you calling from?
Hey, it's James from Delaware.
James, what's happening,
man?
What's
up, James?
The most exciting state in the union.
Yeah, right.
That's good.
You guys, I've been missing your notifications, so I don't know if you guys had to like resend or.
Well, that's because
that.
I'm shadow banned because Spencer keeps talking about his dick pics.
You're
not getting notifications.
You are not shadow banned. I guarantee you. I started channel. I can curse the entire way through, and it's not going to be shadow banned.
All defensive. By the way, I want to say that when I was going into Instagram to look for the last caller's pics, I noticed that Morty sent me a link while we're actually on the air, but he's not calling in.
Yeah.
Don't know what's going on there, but he is paying attention.
I think Morty is still being courted by our friend in Atlanta.
I think he's gone over the dark side. That's all I got to say.
I need a haircut. My comb over is really high right now.
So I've got two questions asking for a friend. They sent me some questions, and they said, if you ever call in, ask these. So the first one is, and it's in regard to, hair supplements and the medications. Because if a good hair transplant doesn't need anything, why are you promoting hair loss drugs that cater to degrees of hair loss that may be beyond the degrees of hair loss acquired after a transplant procedure? Aren't transplanted hairs less susceptible to DHT?
No, some are. Well, today, I understand what he's saying, I think.
Yeah.
Today's hair transplant, in general, most guys are getting FUE hair transplants. Now, FUE hair transplant surgery is a great procedure. I always thought of it as an adjunct procedure, but you can just get an FUE procedure and have a good procedure and be happy. But the more grafts you have moved, the less DHT resistant hair has to be moved. You have maybe, if we're talking about inches, maybe 3 inches in the occipital region or so that would be considered your sweet spot. And off to the side, it gets a little thinner. If you have a strip taken out, you may get 2 or 3 really strong strips with a lot of grafts that are with hair that's pretty DHT resistant, or at least may not be affected by DHT or aged alopecia for many years. But today, everyone's getting FUE. So a lot of those grafts will not survive for the long term. But if you do well on medication, you have a chance of having a longer life. Now, with strip, I still think it's really important to be on medication because you want to maintain as much native hair as possible as well. You want to maintain, try to slow down retrograde, try to slow down the recession of your temporal points, and keep your grafts strong. So in our minds, at least in my mind, I don't know if Joe feels this way, I forgot, no medication, no hair transplant. Unless you're a specific case, much older, possibly, or,
I agree.
Otherwise, it's just not worth the risk. It will diminish over time.
Okay. And the next question is, I don't know if this, well, it has a question in there, but it has also a statement. They sent me and they said, I've never went into a business and said, I want the boss to service me. I've never met anyone that said, I want to be the boss so that I can work harder because bosses are supposed to work less and smarter. Why are hair transplant patients being encouraged to seek procedures from the heads of the clinics, the boss? So you're telling me the same person who is responsible for payroll, hiring and firing, equipment sterilization, equipment inventory, keeping up with the newest procedures, competing with competitors, pricing, customers, complaints, certification, so forth and so on, is also
is this an actual friend of yours?
Yeah,
it sounds like a question Chat GPT would ask.
You need to start to find some more sophisticated friends, my man. These are doctors. It's kind of like saying
they don't do any of that shit.
Yeah, but it's kind of like saying you're going to get heart surgery, but the doctor has this big staff. They are dealing with payroll,
and he's the one ordering supplies.
Yeah, whatever he's dealing with, but besides that, which was funny, but and he's not, why should the boss? He's the boss of his own cardiology clinic or practice, and yes, he has to do the surgery, but why shouldn't? I guess what these people are saying is, why are the doctors performing the surgery? Why should they not delegate it to their underlings? Because they're the boss
and run their business.
But their underlings aren't doctors. Their underlings aren't doctors.
Well, so the gist of the conversation that we were having, and I was promoting that a clinic with a great doctor and wonderful technicians is okay.
Yeah.
And they were saying, but a lot of times when they were searching the internet, a lot of influencers were encouraging you should go to a clinic where a doctor does the full procedure. And I argued that I don't really think that there's a clinic that exists that a doctor does the procedure from front to finish.
There's a couple. There's a couple, but it's unusual. Like I know that Dr. Verona here in the LA area, he's actually in where is he? He's in I was going to say Long Beach, but it's not Long Beach. Jesus Christ. Dr. Verona, I apologize. I'm having a brain zap.
Redondo?
No. He's in somebody help me. Anyway, I'll find out in a second. But yeah, he does the entire surgery himself. He does extractions and implantation using implanter pens. And obviously he has a staff there to help him, but he's really doing the majority, if not all, the surgery. That's rare.
Yeah, right, and that was the Spence. That was the basis of my rebuttal, is to say, I was on the cornerstone of fatigue. I mean, it's great that a doctor, is supposed to be there, and of course, by law, licensed, it is a surgery.
Hold on.
However,
Let me just say this. Dr. Verona, Christopher Verona in Newport Beach. Jesus, how can I not?
Yeah.
My brain. He's excellent at what he does. And he's a guy that does, he has the energy. The guy's built like a brick shithouse. He has the energy and the youth and the energy to do the entire surgery, and he wants to do it. But like you said, this industry has been built on the fact that, this is a symphony of skill sets that really make a hair transplant happen. So having strong technicians to do at least implantation, it's very common. That's the way the industry's been built.
But so my thing, the cornerstone of my rebuttal was that simply, doctors are human and fatigue does set in. So a great a wonderful doctor with a great technician, can work wonders with a hair transplant procedure, whereas, it may even equal, if not compete with, a clinic where a doctor does 100% of the procedure. And again, outside of the doctor that you just mentioned, I think it's rare that a doctor would do 100% of the procedure.
There's a handful of guys who do, but yeah, it is rare. And yeah, this is usually a team effort. But the key is you want to have a staff that is full time. You want to try to avoid companies and clinics that use per diem technicians. Just fly in with and they have a device and they do the surgery. But yeah, I do find the question about, it's kind of funny that the guy's like, well, how do you expect the boss to do the job? This is medicine.
Mm-hmm.
It's a doctor. He's got to be a part of the surgery. That's the whole point. But anyway, brother, anything else? Any other questions from your friends?
So, I got one other question directly from me. How can, I'm still in search of a good good hospital to do my crown. I want to go back to my original clinic, which they did an excellent job. I'm very, very skeptical because the crown takes a specific skill set. It's not like, the frontal third of the head or even the bridge. The crown it's shaped, it's sphered. You got to really know what you're doing. But that being said, is there a general measurement that a layman can use to measure the space versus the amount of grafts needed to at least get a minimal, result?
It's interesting that you bring this up. There's actually a device that I'm aware of that may be coming out for consumers to help them in that respect. But you have to understand, you still have to have the expert, the physician who's performing the surgery, kind of, give you their assessment. My advice to you is if you're happy with your physician, go back, tell him what you want done, and see what he has to say. That's it. It's going to be very difficult for you to assess how many grafts are needed. There's all these bro science guys online who are able to somehow calculate this assessment off the top of their heads and what they think, is needed. But, everyone's an individual. Joe, what are your thoughts? I like saying that because you're not even listening.
I wasn't. I have no idea.
I love catching this guy with his pants down.
You are talking about dick pics, so.
Oh my God!
All right, I've got one other thing.
All right, callers, hold on. We'll take your call in a second.
I want to use beard here.
Okay, beard hair.
Okay.
Right. So I really haven't heard you guys spew on beard hair versus scalp hair. Now, I know that I did hear some episodes ago, I believe it may have been Joe, it may have been Spence, you guys were saying that, if I get this correct, that beard hair or body hair, BHT, should be utilized as a last resort. However,
Yep.
I've seen some clinics that are now pushing it not to be a last resort and it to be sort of a medium or like a go-to. I don't know if that's, the optimal advice.
There's a lot of Indian clinics that'll do that, and there are Turkish clinics that'll do that. There's not a lot of American clinics that will push that. Maybe one or two European clinics I'm aware of that will dabble but not push it.
Yeah.
I know what Joe's thoughts are, but go ahead, Joe.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, there are some clinics that do perform it more often than others. Like Dr. Sean Bainham in LA, he told me he's using beard and body hair probably 10 times a month, which is a lot.
Yeah.
But
he's a good guy.
Just because some clinics say that it's no longer a last resort doesn't mean that that's the case across the board. And personally, I've seen a lot of cases where beard hair was used where it wasn't a last resort, and I wasn't crazy about the results. There are some results I do concede look pretty damn good, but left in their raw state, without color, without some sort of compromise with some sort of product, it still doesn't look as natural as it could be looking if only scalp hair was used. That's just a fact of life, and anyone that wants to argue with that, I mean, they're just flat wrong. You have to treat it differently. It doesn't blend as if it's scalp hair, and will always stand out unless you take measures to improve the aesthetic of it so that it does blend. But it's not a logical go-to before it's a last resort. I stand strong on that. Like I've yet to see one that didn't need some sort of extra treatment above and beyond after the surgery itself to look natural.
And also know that images aren't necessarily indicative of what it looks like in real life. There are some people who, they're so damaged and they need a lot of repair work that just having the coverage changes their life. So if the beard hair is utilized correctly as an underground, and then there's scalp hair that's interlaced or, almost like a foreground or overground, like a shingled over or to the sides, it could really be of great benefit to people who've been really fucked up. But in general, unless you're really a mess, I don't think it's a good idea. And I don't care what these doctors say. It can work, and it could change people's lives. It could help. It could benefit a lot of people, but scalp hair first, in my view.
Now,
and Adrian in the chat room, known as On Call 21, he's had a lot of body hair, or beard hair, I should say specifically, and he just verified. He goes, very true. You do have to color your hair and spend a bit of time finessing it. So,
he looks great. He looks great though.
And he's one of the guys. He's one of the guys that had one of the better beard hair results
I've ever seen.
And he still has to treat it differently to make it look as good as it does now. So
now,
go ahead.
Oh well, I was going to segue because that brings one other point that I would like you guys to elaborate on as well. When you say treat it differently, medication-wise, I know that like finasteride and certain medications actually diminish or
It's actually
shrink.
a very good question. The best question of the night, brother.
Yep, you win. Best question of the night.
Yeah. That is a very interesting. Is the word dichotomy? What's going on in my brain, Joe? That's definitely a very interesting thought. Because people don't really, everyone's on finasteride for the most part. Then they're transplanting body hair. But here's the thing. If the person's been on finasteride for a long period of time and that body hair hasn't diminished, that means it's not going to. But it's risky, in my view, to implant body hair and facial hair before the patient has been on finasteride for a longish period of time, because you don't know if any of that body hair would diminish.
Yep.
So if someone's on finasteride for a long period of time and they have the body hair that they have, it's not going anywhere. Does that make sense?
And maybe Rob Hellner in the chat room can verify. I think that Dr. Umar, who does a lot of body hair, I think he recommends against finasteride. I could be wrong, but I thought I remembered something about that being the case.
Okay.
All right, Brett, listen, we're going to take some more calls before we go, but it's always a pleasure. I'm glad that you still listen to the show. We're usually on Friday, so even though you're not getting notified by Joe's Bacacta system, just we're here. You can tune in.
Is Joe still doing the main event?
I don't know.
Not currently, no.
Okay.
It will be back at some point.
Okay.
The main event, get it?
Hey, you guys keep doing what you're doing. Love the show, man. You guys are the truth, man. So,
yeah,
thank you.
We do our best, brother. Thanks a lot.
All right.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Take care, James.
888-659-3727. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Hey, good evening. Jay from New York.
Hey, Jay from New York. What's up?
What's up, Jay?
Not much, guys. How you guys doing tonight?
Not bad.
Pretty good. Can't complain.
Cool. So I'm just reaching out. The topic tonight is, with medication and not getting surgery if you are not going to take medication. I'm kind of in a situation where I currently don't take finasteride, and I am scheduled for a procedure. So kind of an interesting switch up here.
Okay. When's your procedure?
It is in a few months. It is with Dr. Shapiro in Minnesota.
Okay.
I had touched on these topics with him on multiple occasions, kind of, letting him know that I currently am not taking any oral medication, and just wanted to get some thoughts on his end. Still okay with going through surgery. Told me the limitations with that. The two factors that you guys had mentioned, one being the native hairs continuing to fall, which I fully understand. And then I also had asked about the longevity of the hairs that are taken from the safe zone to begin with. And, he said that they over time can thin out. That
was a very honest response.
Absolutely, which I'm also accepting of, but not at the same rate as the native hairs would fall. So
how old are
he
you?
said pretty much like in my early 30s.
Okay.
So he did say over time, as you age, probably not anytime soon, but those hairs in your donor and the hairs that you are moving, they can thin out over time, but mainly referring to the caliber of the hair follicle themselves. So it would just kind of look like a natural diffused thinning look, rather than, when you lose your hair naturally, the hairline would recess and it would open up, things like that. It would just kind of have like a thinning appearance, which I am, pretty much okay with.
What is your hair like now?
So my hair now is, I'm probably like a 4 or 5. I could end up a 6.
So are you slick bald in those areas, or do you still have vellus hair?
No, I do. Yeah, I do have some native throughout, but you could see the the clear Norwood 5 pattern on top.
Is there a reason you
you know, I
can't
could
take?
potentially,
Is there a reason you can't take medication, or you just are concerned about taking it?
yeah, it's just a personal choice, side
Yeah.
effects. So it's just a personal choice. I mean, I'm not fully against it in the future, but as of current, I'm choosing to stay away.
How
But that's why I asked,
many
you know, the
grafts
next
are you
day.
scheduled for?
25 to 3, doing the frontal third, and then a little bit into the mid scalp.
Doing all FUE or strip?
It is FUE.
Look, I mean,
So
he's being very honest with you. But you're also pretty young in the process, and you're a Norwood 5. You can see the pattern of a Norwood 5. By the time your hair grows in, you're going to have less hair, less native hair. That's the likelihood of your situation. So it could give you a pretty good temporary boost in looking like you have a fuller head of hair for sure. And those grafts may last a significant amount of time. But you're going to notice as the new hair grows in during that time period, you might continue to progress. And then it becomes
which I'm okay with.
Yeah, and then it becomes a situation where, okay, well, you need another surgery. How many grafts do I have? Can I utilize via FUE without my donor looking diminished? You probably get another couple of thousand grafts. And then a year's going to be up. You're going to go through the ugly duckling stage, the growth phase, all that stuff. Then you're going to need another surgery. And then they're going to go in and say, well, we've already taken out 5,000 grafts via FUE. We don't have much more reserve, but we can take a strip if you are willing to wear your hair longer. And then maybe they'll be able to get a 2,500 grafts via strip, which strip should be done first if you're going to go that route. So if you are progressing the way that you're saying you're progressing, there's a good chance that this is going to be you're going to go through that 6 months of like not looking your best and not feeling your best and waiting for the hair to come out and a full year of that. And you may be at a point where you're like, okay, I look better, but I'm noticing I'm thinning more in another area that I'm unhappy with. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you're playing whack-a-mole if you're not on medication and if you're not doing well on medication, I should say. So I just want you to have all the facts in front of you.
So what is your family history like on your father's side? What's your father's hair loss pattern? Your grandfather on both sides, actually.
Yeah, it's hit or miss. I mean, I got some that are more advanced. I got some that are 6, and I have some that are just some crown loss, recession in the hairline. So I would say a combination of all possible scenarios. But I have a good understanding about and I have pretty good acceptance of the future progression. So I'm actually okay with kind of having a thinner crown all said and done. So I have pretty realistic expectations. So all these things I kind of touched on with, Dr. Ron. And as far as the progression, like, I understand that, the hairs in between what we do are going to fall out. And then at that point, he did say, you may want to, depending on your level of satisfaction, you may want to go in the same area and redo it. But I think because I know that my pattern may progress further, a 5-6 situation, I most likely, and I say this now, but I most likely may not want to go through the same zone again for a boost in density because I'm going to have to prioritize, further.
Well, you don't have the reserves for that.
What's your hair caliber like? Go ahead.
Even
Let you finish the questions, but what's your hair caliber like?
It's good. It's good. It's not fine.
And what about the skin to hair color ratio differential?
My hair is dark and my skin is, if I'm not like too light skinned, but I'd say a decent tan. It's my complexion. So it's a decent combination there. So,
lower contrast.
Contrast. That's the word.
Yeah. So, the 3,000 that I'm getting, it should put, 30 something grafts per square centimeter in the recipient zone. And I see what I have now, and I know with what I'm getting, if the native hairs do fall, I think I'd be okay with what they plan. So, but as far as, theoretically, if I don't, get density greed after the first one, after, everything else falls out. He did say that regardless if you progress or not, the way that he is going to plant the grafts is a natural pattern, meaning if I progress to a 6 or a 7, the way he, places the grafts in the, frontal third and kind of just like the whole plan.
Well, you got to understand,
itself,
Ron started at a time when finasteride, I don't even think it was approved yet. So, they had to work, especially the old school guys who learned how to do it correctly and started with follicular unit transplants and, doing very fine work. They learned how to perform standalone procedure because they knew that this shit was not going to last. So they wanted to make people look normal as they continued to progress. So you're in the right hands when it comes to that. But my only concern for you is, depending on how you progress, depending on if you eventually get some thinning or retrograde on the sides or whatever it is, you may just be stuck with cotton candy on the top of your head that's see-through. And not like my cotton candy, but like really, thin cotton candy. And in the end, you may feel like I should have just shaved my head, or maybe I should have gotten on medication, or, that's my concern. And I think that's a possibility given your circumstance. Joe is in the trenches, and he's also had 13 surgeries, 18 surgeries.
27,
yeah.
Thank you.
So
No,
he could speak to this.
Look, let me. Okay, so just some questions because I'm trying to get a real handle on your case. When you say that you're a 4 or 5 now, is that where the outline of that is seen because you still have enough hair to you still have coverage enough to comb and style? It's just you're really thin, diffuse throughout the top. Is that what you're dealing with?
The frontal third needs. Yeah. So
Sorry?
the frontal third needs to work now.
Yeah.
But as far as the rest of the scalp itself, I would say just the entire top is diffuse. I mean, the crown is lighter than the mid scalp, but you could just tell the entire, upper plane of the scalp, is definitely affected. As far as the laterals in the crown, to be determined. I mean, they could drop, and he did go over the possibility of that. And, he just said the way they would place the grafts in the first procedure, regardless if you do progress even further than you do now, you'll still look natural because people do bald like that. They do just lose the crown, essentially, and whatever. But I do have a decent...
That's true. I actually have a video on this YouTube channel where I show examples of that. I talk about how the Norwood pattern, the Norwood hair loss chart is not absolute. There are other patterns that occur in nature that are not documented on that chart. But the reason I was asking about the amount of hair that you have now is because I want you to think about the investment of time, money, and donor hair that you're going to be making, not on medication, with the prospect of potentially looking not much different than you do now 10 years from now because of the continued loss of your native hair. So is that something you're okay with, where it won't look much different now than it does 10 years from now than it does now because of the continued loss of the hair that you have on your head? Because the transplanted hair will become the hair that you have today.
Right. I don't think that what I have now, I don't think the transplants will look like what I have now just because I truly don't have much in the frontal third. I mean, the hairline is pretty much not there. They're rebuilding the hairline, and then I think I definitely have less than 20 grafts per square centimeter in my frontal third right now. And then if he puts the 25 to 3, I think that the grafts will stand alone and look better than what I have now, even if my native hairs do fall. So I'm pretty confident that the front will look better than I do now.
Yeah, I agree with that, and that may be enough for you. And look, I've talked to a lot of guys in your exact situation, and I don't fault you for your approach. I'm just reverting back to my instincts as a consultant, where I want to drill you with questions to make sure that maybe I can trigger something that you haven't thought of that'll maybe make you think maybe this isn't a good idea, because I don't like the idea of guys going in, especially at your age and your degree of loss, even in the best of hands. Because I've talked to guys that said, yeah, I'm fine if it thins out over time, and they weren't fine if when it actually did thin out over time. I'm thinking about a very specific case where the guy wound up getting 5,000 grafts in one strip, and the exact same scenario. He wasn't taking medication, and he regretted it because while it did look natural, he missed having hair a second time. Going through hair loss once sucks. Going through it again it sucks worse. Trust me. And so you are in great hands. Ron, I've known Ron a long time. Spencer's known longer than me. He's obviously very good at what he does. But just because he's very good at what he does doesn't mean that you actually understand what it is exactly you're getting into. And I encourage you to highly consider topical alternatives to oral Propecia finasteride. Consider something like that. Consider minoxidil of some sort. Give it enough time to do what it needs to do, so you can make a better and more informed decision about your future. Because if you change your mind in the future, you might change it too late because your native hair will already be gone, and it'd be like, okay, now I want to try it to prevent more loss, but you could have saved what you have now in that mid scalp in the crown region, and therefore saved donor hair that could be used for something more aesthetically pleasing, like maybe adding density, but like maybe going into a previously transplanted area for more density, and also potentially saving money. So there's so many benefits to taking a step back and reconsidering your approach, and maybe including a medical regimen, topically speaking, and having a better long-term result. Because when you get into these FUE sessions that are going into 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 grafts or more, you are going into areas that are not considered by the gold standards to be the safe donor zone. We already know that, like, if you take a strip from that sweet spot in the occipital region and up on the bilateral donor regions where the hair is strongest and does appear to have more resistance to DHT, even those hairs don't always have resistance to DHT and will thin over time. So when you're going into the upper donor regions bilaterally and in the occipital, going above and below that sweet spot, those hairs might not be as resistant to DHT, where you will have more thinning over time than if it was just the sweet spot donor hairs, if that makes sense. So you might have more thinning over time, which is more disappointing over time. And I don't want you to be in the position where you have to experience this twice. It's not fun.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just trying to gather and trying to wrap my head around everything here. So, as far as, like, theoretically speaking, if in let's say 5 to 10 years after first procedure, I, let's say, want some more density in the front, I take more from the donor, add more to the front. I think he did say, you do have to accept that you may not be able to cover much in the crown. If I were to say I am okay with that, and, like, if I have to go back to the front, add density, and kind of get right back to the crown with whatever my donor can provide, if I'm okay with that, would your stance change at all? Like, if I'm okay with, let's say, running out of donor to cover the crown and kind of can sport like a hairstyle that just kind of works with, like, a thin crown, would you say that it would be okay to proceed I mean, I understand that, the grafts in the donor can thin over time, but if that's not going to be for another, let's say, 20 years, miniaturization in the donor, loss thinning out in the donor.
I'll answer your question with a question. Assuming you can get some light coverage in the crown, you got some good coverage on the top, and things are great. I think it becomes more of a question of not is it a good idea to go back in the front, but is it a good idea to take grafts that you might need if the sides start to drop and you develop these large channels on either side of your scalp because you're progressing even further into an advanced Norwood 6 like I was. That might be in your future. You already said that you have a family member that's gone that far. So in my book, you need to look at that as being a potential final position in your progression, not a 5. Because if you have a 6 there, it's possible. And if it's possible, then, odds are it's likely, or at least it should be considered to be likely, because you're dealing with a non-renewable resource. This idea that you have so many more grafts available today than we did 10 years ago is horseshit. They were always there. It's just fewer people were attempting to go in to try and get those hairs. And ultimately, I don't see a lot of evidence even today when we do have a lot of clinics that are going into the extremes of donor regions to get more hair all over the scalp or into the body, on your chest, back, whatever. I'm not seeing a shitload of results that make me think, you know what? Things are completely different today than 10 years ago. I changed my mind. It's still not there.
And I think that's a good point. And I think that, it's great that we now are able to more accurately dissect grafts from the back of the scalp, and cherry pick stuff, with the instrumentation and the experience that these guys have. But those are good resources for people who are stripped out or who have been disfigured in the past and stuff like that. As far as utilizing them to create a full head of hair or a full-looking head of hair for a young guy, everyone knows that those hairs are going to diminish, if you're not on medication especially. Everyone knows that. Every doctor who's claiming there's more grafts that can be utilized know that these grafts are, the theory of donor dominance that Ohrenreich essentially rediscovered in 1959 still exists today. And that's a fact. We know there's a certain amount of donor that just stays. There's less DHT. It's less DHT affected by DHT, more DHT resistant. And the rest of the hair that's being utilized by FUE today is all not in the safe zone. It's great that we can utilize it, but part of utilizing that now is, okay, if we're going to use this, you probably want to be on medication because we can make it last longer. So in your particular case, brother, I mean, you just have to be prepared for the long haul. How are you going to feel emotionally as things decline? Because they will. They may, hopefully, fingers crossed, it's not going to be for 5 years or 7 years. And you could get a nice chunk of life, get past this nice chunk of life until maybe you're 40. But you just have to be fully prepared for the worst. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
I don't mean to bum you out, brother. I want you to just be prepared, because if you go into this, Ron's going to do a great job. I'm not sure if he's doing it or Josephitis is doing it, but they're going to do a good job. But, it's kind of like, in some cases, it's like invisible ink. You know what I mean? The reverse of that. They can do. Yeah. They can really be incredible artists, but eventually that's going to disappear.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you think there's more of a, like when you talk about the use of medication, would you say that the holding on to the grafts that are taken from the donor, that there's more value in taking medication to hold on to that, or
both,
like the advancing?
Absolutely, 100% both.
Yeah,
I'm okay with the progression. Yeah, of the loss. I'm okay with the progression of the loss.
It's all
that
going
I'm
to.
okay
It's
with,
all.
like,
Your entire scalp is going to progress and change. It's a constantly change. It's a changing canvas. Even guys who are on drugs, even me. So I had a lot more hair 10 years ago. I didn't have to use as much paint. I had no retrograde alopecia at all. I mean, I would be able to grow the nape of my neck down to my shoulders if I wanted to. It would have looked ridiculous, but I could have. You know?
I do want to throw in one more opinion about your approach on this. You said something really, really key in that, or you asked it as a question, what if I'm okay with thinning out later? You won't be. You won't be. You're going to have this frontal third, front half addressed surgically. Most likely it'll grow in fine. You'll be really happy with it. You'll have a hairline again, which is always fun. But then when not if the mid scalp and back continue to progress, you're not going to be okay with it. I've never met anyone that's been okay with it. They got the hairline back, but then they lost behind it. The mid scalp and the crown were going. They weren't okay with it. When you get that hairline back, it changes everything. You've effectively reduced your age appearance by 7 to 10 years. If you're in your early 30s now, and you get your hairline back, and I'm not talking about your juvenile hairline, I'm talking about a hairline, you'll look like you're 26.
Yeah.
And you don't want to lose that. So when the back starts to go, you'll be like, holy shit, what's going on? I need more. And if that wasn't the case, then why do you want a hair transplant now if you're okay with your thinning? Why go through all this if you're okay with it now? Have you tried shaving your head? Have you tried going the opposite direction to see if you're okay with that? Because if you are, then scrap all this and forget about it. Move on. No medication, potential aggressive hair loss in the future. You're okay with thinning and not having the fullest look possible. And if it continues to progress, then why not just chuck it all and try shaving your head? Just see how you like it. You may love it.
Yeah.
Not think of that?
I've tried it. Yeah, I've tried it before.
Okay.
But to answer, to kind of touch on that, the back half and the crown, the frontal third would take up to 3,000 grafts. And then the back half and the mid scalp and the crown, I most likely have in the, underneath the crown and, the sides, kind of taking into account, the safest zone. I know you said like majority, once you kind of go beyond like 5,000-6,000 grafts, it kind of gets, you're kind of getting into the unsafe territory, but
not even 5,000 or 6,000 grafts. Even the first 3,000 grafts, they can't just take 3,000 grafts out of your safe zone. They can take maybe 1,000 grafts if they're lucky. If you have, depending on the size of your head, because they have to really space them out so that you don't see the distribution. Then they go above, below, and to the sides to get more grafts. So at least a third of the grafts, what did you say, you can have 2,500 grafts?
Yeah.
At least a half of those grafts are coming from above, below, and to the sides of the traditional safe zone.
Yeah. And that's the way it should be, because if they are taken from that, if they are taken just from the sweet spot, then you have a very stark demarcation of between the density above and below that area and the area of actual extraction. It'll be considerably thinner than everywhere else on your scalp. So they have to take it from outside the sweet spot.
And that's why it's even more imperative, and that's why we try to, at least I do, and Joe does too, that just try to just get this to people's minds that with FUE, as advanced as people think it is, it puts you in a position where without medication, you're at much greater risk of having a diminishing hair transplant sooner rather than maybe in 10, 15 years. And this is bad. I'm feeling it from you, brother. I really hate having to give you this news. But this is just the truth. You know, and you have to make that decision for yourself. It doesn't mean that you're going to get fucked up. It just means that you will eventually be disappointed again, most likely.
Yeah, so what I was going to say to my point, to what Joe said about, you know, being okay with, let's say, the back half thinning or not being okay with it. If I were to do, like, you know, another procedure to address that zone, you know, kind of taking from the same, you know, the same typical location that a lot of people extract FUE grafts from, you know, that will put me at, you know, I see a lot of these cases where these people do cover, you know, Norwood 5 recipient zone with, you know, 5,000-6,000 grafts. So let's say, like, my donor can provide that. The worst case scenario in a situation like this is just over time it just may thin because wherever the grafts were taken from, is that pretty much the only
if they have
case scenario.
If they have enough hair to work with and cobble it together for you, and you have enough native hair that still exists where they're not diminishing your donor visibly, then when that hair grows in, and if you haven't progressed yet, the results could be stellar.
Right.
100%. And you may, and even after second surgery, it may not thin that much over time. It really depends. I mean, listen, given your age and given your current progression, you know, just being in the field for so long and knowing how this works, the vast majority of people in your position will progress significantly. But there could be genetic factors that kind of keep you where you are for a long period of time, too. That's possible.
What's your ethnicity, your background?
I'm white.
You are? Okay. So why have you not considered a FUT to start with, out of curiosity?
I mean, if I'm going to progress further, potentially, I mean, I know from what I've seen, a lot of people that go FUT, you have to wear your hair longer on the side. So if I'm going to have, let's say, a pretty thin crown, I would like the ability to offset the thing up top by going a little bit lower on the sides. So I think that I personally don't think that people should get a strip if they're going to progress further. It's just my personal opinion because you can't cut your hair as short to take away from the thinning up top, you know?
I mean, it's not unreasonable. It's not an unreasonable thought process. I understand why you're thinking that way.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm a big believer in if you are going to progress.
Me too.
Aggressively, you start with a strip or actually two strips, assuming the first one goes okay. Because you have two advantages with that. Well, one major advantage is you get more hair. Some doctors will argue this, and that's fine. But
very few
they're usually the ones that only do FUE, that don't perform FUT. There are some doctors out there that are offering hybrid procedures where they'll do FUT and FUE in the same procedure, which is fine. But ultimately, like in my own case, I've had 10 surgeries. Most of them weren't, you know, with the goal of getting, you know, a lot of grafts. I mean, it's just a full disclosure type of thing. But I've had, after my 2 bad strip surgeries, I had 3 subsequent surgeries that were repair surgeries, and those 3 combined got me 7,500 grafts.
Mm-hmm.
I'm 23 years into this journey of repair, and I can go down to a 2 guard, and you don't see my scar at a 1 guard. The only thing you see is the change in hair direction from having so much strip. 1 or 2 surgeries, you're not going to have that. So, I don't know. I don't want to beat you up because you've been getting a lot of heat from me, but which isn't heat. It's just I'm trying to challenge you to make sure you're thinking this through and to make sure that you understand your options.
Would you ever be willing to wear hair if things don't go well for you?
Yeah, there's that.
Say it again.
Would you ever be willing to wear hair, like, you know, partial piece, whatever, if things don't go well in the future?
No.
Dude, my advice, shave your head. That's all. That's my advice. But what do I know? I don't have a crystal ball. It's very possible.
So under
what
circumstances would you say that somebody could go through with surgery?
If you were doing well on medication currently with your current loss, and things were stabilized for at least a year or more, probably 2, I would say go for it. At least you're doing everything you can to prevent or slow down the future diminishing of your results, and also keep enough hair, keep your native hair.
Right.
If you're not on medication, or if you're so afraid of taking finasteride orally, then you can talk to Ron. Maybe you'd be more comfortable taking oral minoxidil, and maybe keeping your hair in anagen phase longer. Which every anagen phase you have, that could be 4 or 5, sometimes 6 years. Probably average about 4. If you can keep your anagen phases longer, you may be able to maintain your hair for another 20 years.
Yeah. Everything you guys are saying, it makes sense. And, I've been doing research for a long time, so I fully understand, all these different factors. And, I recently spoke with Ron, and I pretty much, the whole topic of the conversation was, hey, look, I know that I'm going to progress. What can be our game plan with this? Because if he were to say, hey, look, everything that we're talking about tonight, then I wouldn't go through with it. But, he seems pretty confident that whatever pattern we distribute the grafts, it will still look natural. And if you're okay with the crown not being addressed in a worst case scenario, then that's on you.
Well, I'm going to say something that is going to be, may sound controversial, but, at a certain point, surgeons, that's what they do. They perform surgery. So he's working out the puzzle and thinking, maybe I could help this kid now. Mm-hmm. Maybe I can improve his life for some time, knowing that there's a real risk that, listen, by the time you may need your second surgery, Ron could be dead, or he can be retired.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that he's trying to just get you in a chair. He's not that type of a person. But they think differently. Surgeons perform surgery. That's what they do.
Yeah, so that's pretty much what I did. I said, what can be the game plan if I may progress? And he was like, you do the front, and then, a second procedure can address, maybe moving further back in the scalp. He did say, you don't touch the crown until you're satisfied with the front. So I respect that.
Yeah.
And fully understand that.
Yeah. I actually respect, honestly, I respect everything he's saying. I just know that surgeons do surgery. They're working out a puzzle in their mind. They know that you want this done, and he thinks that he could help you. But he probably knows in the back of his mind, because he's giving you some warnings, that this will not last a long time for you.
Mm-hmm. Or you just may not be able to address the crown.
Well, you definitely won't be able to address the crown. You can't even think, at your point, you can't even think about addressing the crown. It's not like maybe he's being nice and trying to make you feel like maybe there's a possibility down the road. There is no possibility that you could ever address the crown, given your current circumstance and also given the fact that you're not on medication. So you got to take that out of the equation completely. Everything should be concentrated in the hairline, mid-anterior scalp, possible lateral hump progression. You're going to need hair to fill that shit in eventually. Cannot do the crown.
Right.
Temporal region, you may need that to be rebuilt eventually. Can't waste the grafts in the crown. This is going to be you're going to be a project for a very long time until you decide you can no longer be a project.
And I'll go ahead and just say this. Based on everything that I'm hearing, there's more negatives than positives. And if you're sitting here telling us that you're okay with thinning in the future, cut out the middleman. Just continue thinning, because surgery, once you get that hairline, I've already said it once, but I'll say it again. Once you get that hairline, the dynamic of what is important to you with regards to your hair will be turned 180 degrees. You'll want more. There's a real reason people call it hair greed. It's because it is a greed for more hair. No question about it. Ask Adrian in the chat room, on call 21. He knows what I'm talking about. Ask Rob Hellner in the chat room. Son of a bitch has had 11 hair transplants, and he's proud of it that he finally beat me with 10, as if it's a contest. I'm just giving you a hard time, Rob. It doesn't stop. And I'll go and call me back in 2 years. I'll go on record saying today, you will not be happy with the process once you start to thin behind the transplanted work that you get, and you'll wish that you had more donor hair.
Joe, I'm bummed out.
That's my prediction.
Now I'm depressed.
And I'm saying this because I want you to be happy with your future, and I don't want you to look back on this. I'm not talking about the phone call. I'm talking about your surgery. I don't want you to look back on it and say, maybe I shouldn't have done this because now I'm stuck in this cycle where I have to go back for more and more because medication isn't providing that stopgap as a barrier to more surgery. There's no guarantee that it would anyway.
No,
you may still progress with it. I don't want to be misinterpreted as saying, Tillman saying that medication's the end all be all. I've never said that, but you're hedging your bets with medication on some level. Topical, oral, whatever you take. I just don't think you're, full admission, sight unseen. I have no idea what you look like. I'm just going on visuals based on hair loss patterns and what you told us. But I don't think you're a candidate for surgery at all, based on your expectations, which do seem low, and that's fine. But I think that actually reinforces the idea that surgery is not for you.
Mm-hmm. Well, as far as candidacy, I mean, the donor itself, the quality of my donor is above average. So that, I know I have that working for me. But I get what you're saying as far as candidacy, like the lack of medication, I guess, puts people in the category of.
Well, it's not just that, but look, you mentioned something I think might be important. So you said that your donor is above average. Is that above average in density?
Yes, and caliber.
Okay, so that introduces yet another problem. So you may or may not have heard of the idea of the homogeneous donor zone and the homogeneous hair transplant, where some clinics subscribe to the idea that you
very
can
smart,
take
Joe. You're very smart.
So much of your donor area, 50% of it actually, to transplant to the top of your scalp to create this balance of density where your donor area is purposely thinned out because of the lack of density that will be the case on the recipient area. So if you have an above average donor area, both above density and hair caliber, which is fantastic, good for you, that means you'll actually need more hair on top of your scalp to counteract that density and fullness because it'll make the top look thinner than if your donor was average. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it definitely does.
Yeah.
Well, the good thing about all this is I haven't gone yet, so I could easily pull out.
Here's the thing, and I have seen this happen before, and I don't know if it was Christian Basanga or somebody called or somebody wrote me. I just get so many people contacting me. Essentially, 2 years ago, they went in for a consult, and I think Christian Basanga was in New York, and they gave him one consult, told him how many grafts they can move. I don't think this kid was on medication. And then he decided to go back when he was in town again to have another consultation with him, and the entire plan changed because he continued to progress. So Chris was not able to move as many grafts as he would have moved 2 years prior.
Yeah.
So if you wait a year for another consultation and you're the exact same as you are now, then you're probably in okay shape to move forward.
Right.
And I'll go ahead and just one last comment. On call in the chat room, who I just referenced, he said he's had 15,671 grafts, and his hair's thinning. So the greed is real. The necessity is real for more surgery.
And the penis enlargement's diminishing too. Apparently, I heard.
Yeah. He got a second hand pump.
Yeah, listen, brother,
kidding, Adrian.
This is a depressing call for you, or maybe it's not. It's just, we have to hit you with some...
No, it's not. It's reality. I understand.
Yeah, it's reality.
Good.
Yeah.
You can still benefit from a hair transplant possibly. I don't think Ron is steering you in the wrong direction. But again, he's a surgeon. He performs surgery. In his mind, he's trying to figure out this puzzle.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of people trying to figure out the puzzle, and they may never hear back from that patient. They don't know what went down in their lives. We hear back from them.
Yeah.
Right.
You know,
We're the ones that hear from them.
and then they're like, "Well, the doctor did his best, and you know, he warned me and all that stuff." And yeah, that's true, and that's very ethical.
And it's great that you can accept that, but it's your head, not his. You
Yeah.
know? You're the one that has to live with it, not him. Ron's got a full head of hair. That son of a bitch has got some of the best hair of any 70-year-old I've ever seen.
It's unbelievable, really. He's got a low hairline too.
Yeah,
And he's 70.
like
he's 70 years old.
Yeah, give or take. Maybe 71.
Just make sure you ask him to see his hands before he performs surgery, so they're not shaking.
And it's not a detriment. I'm just calling him out because he got such great hair. He's like the Ronald Reagan of hair transplants.
No, he looks great for his age.
Yeah, he does.
And his hands don't shake. I'm just kidding.
Sounds good.
Yeah, but yeah, he's got 10 years on me, that dude, and he's hanging in there.
Yeah.
All right, brother. Listen, you let us know what you do. It sounds like you're going to go through with the surgery, but you know, just have all this in mind. You could still talk to him about medication, what his thoughts are. You know, just be honest. Let him know that. Let's put it this way: if it's ever a possibility that you're considering medication, if that's ever within the realm of possibility for you, you should probably talk to him about it now.
Yeah.
Right.
That's all.
It's not completely out of the equation. So.
Yeah, I mean, because you don't want to be one of these guys who freaks out and says, "You know what? I'm going to get on medication," and then you're like, "You know, it seems to be working, but I wish I would have gotten on it 5 years ago because I would have saved so much, so many issues and so many problems." Or you could take it and your dick doesn't work. That's a possibility. It's not as common as they talk about online, but it's possible. That's just the way it is, man. This is, you know what? We're in a fucked up situation. We got to make a lot of fucked up situations if we want the decisions if we want to save our hair. That's just the way that it is. Mm-hmm. Your decision may be, I'm not going to get on medications, but I have to chance this surgery because that's what I want to do. That's the risk that you're taking. You're choosing not to risk getting on medication, and I get it.
Yeah. And I'll figure it out. I've still got some time, so I mean,
Why don't you have yourself a drink and relax, and just think about it.
Definitely.
All right, brother.
I appreciate the insight. Appreciate the insight, guys. No, definitely. I think I understand a lot more than it may seem about this.
No, I think you. I think you do.
No.
I could tell you understand everything. I mean, you're trying to argue your points, which I would do the same in your position. You're just trying to get it. You're trying to relay to us your thought process, but you're doing it in a way where I know you've heard all this before.
Right.
You're aware of all this.
Definitely have.
Yeah. So don't worry. I don't think you're. I don't think you're the average idiot. Trust me. Yeah, I don't think you're the average. What'd you say?
I was going to say you've heard it before, just not so eloquently put.
Yeah. But yeah, you're not the average idiot consumer calling in. You definitely seem like you've done your homework, brother.
Appreciate that.
All right.
And if you agree, agree with that, hit the like button and make sure you subscribe to the channel.
Yeah.
I will.
All right, brother. Take care. Good luck. Let us know what you do.
Have a good night. Thank you. All right.
Good luck. Bye-bye.
I do think he seems like a reasonable kid. Honestly, he seems he's smart.
No, I agree. It's just it was I'll be honest, at first I was having a bit of kind of difficult time trying to figure out how to wrap my head around this approach with him because he did sound like,
I got to get my camera closer. My head looks so small next to yours. Ridiculous. I got to figure.
Let me pull back.
Yeah, we got to figure this out.
Spencer's got head envy. So, yeah, I was trying to find the angle because he did sound pretty well together, but then I found it, and I was inspired, especially that donor density thing. That didn't hit me till the end, but I think that was probably the most poignant point that he should consider, because he does need more hair for there to be an appearance of the donor area can destroy the illusion of density if it's above average.
Oh yeah,
because he can't, because
he'd have to buzz it really close,
general,
or he look like Bozo eventually.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So anyway, I hope that works out for him. But like I said before we hung up, everyone, hit the like button, because we're trying to get the algorithm to, clue people in that we are live, that we're doing this, that the video is here, despite how it has to filter out dick pic comments from Spencer. We still think you hit those likes, we'll get more views in the future. So
Tim Dillon seems to do just fine.
Yeah, he started out with a bigger audience.
He seems to be doing just fine.
He came in from outside of the YouTube. So he already had it, and he's been on Rogan, so that helps too.
Fine.
I get on Rogan, you guys can say whatever you want. I don't give a shit.
Oh, what'd you just say?
I know. Well, it's end of the show, so I can say it. That's
all right, people. Listen, we're going to go. I have dinner plans, and we spent an extra half an hour on the goddamn show talking to you guys.
Great calls.
Guys, follow me on Instagram at Spencer Kobren. Believe it or not, I have been experimenting with my last few videos, and people seem to enjoy them. So I'm going to
kids call them reels.
Yeah, I'm going to keep going in that direction because it's working, and I'm noticing a lot more people following and getting the information. They're like, "Is this true? I thought I could pour coconut oil on my scalp and I grow all my hair back." And all these kids who are derma rolling and then putting minoxidil, anything with SD alcohol on their scalp directly after braiding their scalps, I can't even believe this is a thing.
Well, they feel they're like, it's working. Meanwhile, their follicles are going, ah!
Yeah, they're causing perifollicular fibrosis. That's the worst thing that can happen. But at minimum, they're destroying skin cells that will have to regenerate and may not eventually. Minimum. That's the minimum damage that you're doing. You take skin cells and you put SD alcohol on them, they die. That's the way that it works. That's why now they tell you never put alcohol on a wound. Now, if you're out in the, in the desert or whatever it is, and you get cut and you have a bottle of gin, whatever, you can either clean your wound. But no more alcohol and peroxide on wounds. They figured out that makes people's scar worse, and it kills your skin. I got a lot of work to do still. I know whoever asked me if I dye my hair, I don't. You'll see on Instagram it's all different colors. It really depends on the camera and the lighting. So if I'm in daylight or like in my, in my living room and I just happen to be shooting with a phone, my hair is basically salt and pepper. It looks more white. If I'm in this studio, I have a little more light now, so you can see a little bit more gray in it, but it's whiter than this generally. It's more like my beard mixed in, but the camera doesn't pick it up. Just the way that it is.
That's just the way it is.
And these kids, you think that they're like, "Where's your hairline, bro?" Good luck. Good luck looking like me and Joe when you're 60. Joe's only 55.
God. I just got used to 54.
You know what? It's funny. I'm the opposite. I actually always give myself a year ahead because I'm not 60. I'm 59. But I kind of like the idea when you tell somebody how old you are and they're like, "What?"
Yeah, that does. I get that never. But
like,
yeah,
what? I thought
nice
you were 65.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, you're that young? Oh,
Yeah.
Sorry. Glad I didn't tell you how old I thought you really were.
Dude, you look pretty young. I mean, you used to be fat like me. There was a time we were both a little chunky.
I was chunky, not fat. There's a difference.
Well, I was drinking too much. I had a big bloated face, and I was about 210 pounds.
Oh, you're talking about that time. Okay.
Yeah.
Because the second time,
not good.
In Vegas, that just, Anyway.
Yeah.
Too many stories. All right. We done? We out of here?
Yeah, we're done. Guys, follow me on Instagram. Follow Joe at the Joe Tillman Official on Instagram. Like this program so Joe's channel grows. Check out the new video that I did on what is it? What is Killian's?
The Hair Chemist.
Hair Chemist channel. Check that out. We did a really good UK broadcast. The kid's got chops. I got to tell you, we got to get his camera shit fixed. But he's got chops, and he's got a lot. He's got a lot going on. He's a smart kid. All right. Until next time, be strong. God bless. And thank you guys so much for listening. Have a good night.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry for any inconvenience you may have been put to prior to the program, and I'm glad you enjoyed it. And if you could now leave by the exits at the rear, that'd be splendid. Thank you.